We're joined now by a good friend of ours, John Solomon of Just the News, and they broke down this even further, this allegation that this FBI document exists, detailing a criminal scheme when President Biden was vice president, and it's very specific into this criminal scheme and basically taking foreign money to impact U.S. policy. But I want to go to John Solomon right now. And John, just right off the bat, I know that you also spoke to Congressman Perry, who's on Comer's oversight committee, who sent the letter as well as the subpoena, and he said it was some of the most serious, to emerge in the Biden family saga in years, and they need to verify it. So, I mean, Congress is taking this very seriously. I mean, this is the biggest allegation yet against Joe Biden.
Yeah, listen, and the reason it's so significant is it occurs 6 months before the 2020 election. It comes in via a confidential human source, a registered informant of the FBI. The FD 1023 form that Congress mentioned in this is a form used for intaking information when an agent meets with one of their confidential human sources or informants. So we know it comes from an informant. We know it comes in June 2020. And sources have told me that the allegations surround this pay-to-play bribery allegation that Congressman Comer mentions involving something in Ukraine, a country that the Bidens have a rich history of because of the whole Burisma holding saga that we've known about for years. So that's what makes it so serious. But it's also important to realize that informants come in every day. Not everything an informant delivers is true. Informants come in all shapes and sizes. There have been instances I've reported that a journalist was treated as an informant. We know that Christopher Steele was an informant. Some of Christopher Steele's information to the FBI in earlier cases was very credible. The stuff he gave in the dossier in the Russia collusion case turned out to be very lacking in credibility and unverifiable, and in some cases completely debunked. So I think Senator Grassley said it best. We need to verify what this is, and did it get investigated? That's the big question. Were pieces of information coming into the FBI about Biden, and they were just getting kicked into a empty garbage can without people looking at it? That's some of the concern that Congress has, because they've talked to many whistleblowers, the IRS whistleblower, the FBI whistleblower. There seems to be a theme here that maybe things about the Bidens weren't as aggressively investigated as Donald Trump was.
And again, I think it was important to point out what John just said is it from one of his sources. It looks like this is tied to Ukraine. Again, that this confidential informant came to the FBI with this information so that the foreign national that would have been paying Vice President Biden, which is the allegation, to specifically enact certain U.S. policy for those payments, looks like that originated out of Ukraine, which is something new. So I want to make sure people heard that more specific. And as you pointed out, John, again, it's an allegation. But what we now know is that Congress has got to get into the fight with seventh floor at the FBI to even get the information.
We've seen that dance before, and ultimately Congress prevails, but sometimes it turns out to be very slow. So this could be a long slog, and maybe it won't be. I think we're going to learn of other overtures that were made to the FBI in 2016, in 2018, in 2019, and then in 2020. And I think there's a pattern beginning to emerge that the FBI seemed to lack some curiosity about what Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were up to. And I think we're getting a little piece of that thing. We also know that the intelligence community wasn't curious. In fact, it was determined to try to take the Hunter Biden laptop and falsely dismiss it as disinformation when it was known that it wasn't. So not only is there a lack of curiosity to look at certain things, in some cases, things that were legitimate were being dismissed as Russian disinformation. I think a lot of people, some of the lawmakers I've interviewed in recent days, use the word a political protection racket, meaning that there was a political insulation that the Biden family got that others, like Donald Trump or other political figures, might not have gotten. That is becoming a storyline that Scott Perry and James Comer and others have said. James Comer said on my show the other day, I fear that Hunter Biden will be another story about a privileged Democrat being treated differently in the justice system than everyday Americans. That's something that's very disturbing because we're seeing a lot of signs of that these days.
Yeah, that's how it feels. I definitely know that's how it feels too. Even a lot of our listeners right now and people watching the broadcast who feel the same way. It's like they know that the information's out there. They're just worried that nothing will come of it. Not that we don't necessarily report it, not that we don't talk about it, but that there's no consequences. Do you think, John, this came out of potentially the investigation to Hunter Biden? That is there any kind of, because again because you said like this is all starting to come out now, and there's probably even more people who have been looking at how Vice President Biden, the Burisma stuff, the Ukraine, all of that, and there's an actual investigation of Hunter going on that doesn't seem, again, it's every once in a while we get a report like something's about to happen that doesn't happen, but that it's related to that.
Yeah, listen, I think that the FBI opened up. We know this. The FBI opened up an investigation in late 2018. I've seen some documentation that authenticates that. And it's predominantly was focused on foreign lobbying, foreign influence, and then taxes. We are now told, and I've talked to people close to the Hunter Biden legal team and Hunter Biden political world, the Hunter Biden team is resigned to the possibility that he will be indicted in the next few days or weeks. Now, nobody knows what a grand jury is going to do until a grand jury does it, but the Hunter Biden team is bracing for the possibility of an indictment involving taxes and maybe a gun application charge. That's a subset of what the FBI originally began investigating. And here is a very big question. It's a question that Congressman Scott Perry asked in a letter earlier this week. And I call one attention. I think Congressman Perry's onto something. There is a question about the body of evidence which suggests that tax problems with Hunter Biden date to 2014 and Ukraine. Let's go back to Ukraine. Why? Because there's an email authenticated and known to be in the FBI's possession where Hunter Biden told in 2017, hey, Hunter, you never paid taxes on $400,000 of income. You didn't declare it from Burisma in Ukraine. And a lot of people are saying, well, listen, that's in writing. It's in public. We know there's a tax problem there. And yet that's not being discussed in the current stories about the indictment. And here's a question that Congressman Perry is asking. Did the statute of limitations expire, or did a tolling agreement that would keep the statute of limitations expire and take a lot of that serious allegations off the table at Justice? That's just one of the many questions that Congress has to get to the bottom to in the next few weeks.
John, as always, we appreciate you joining us and all of your reporting at Just the News.